Hi, I'm Joyce, and welcome to the Simply Stated channel. I hope you're having a great day, and we are in John, the book of John, and today we are going to be reading from John 6, and this is all about the feeding of the multitudes. So join in with me if you will. Get your Bible, get comfortable, and let's begin reading John 6. We're going to start right in verse 1. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is, the Sea of Tiberias. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he had performed on the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover feast was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 8 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Another of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and the man sat down, about 5,000 of them. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated, as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the miraculous sign that Jesus did, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. I think we're all aware, this is one of the scriptures that talks about Jesus feeding the multitudes. And in this one, it specifically says the men were 5,000 in number. Now, if there were 5,000 men in number, there were a great number of women and children in number too. So, maybe a conservative estimate would have been 13,000, maybe 8,000 to 13. A conservative estimate might have been 8,000. But there were throngs upon throngs coming out to see Jesus. They had heard all of the miraculous signs that he had done. Popularity was growing, and they all wanted to meet this prophet and see another sign. They were interested in what he had to say and willing to wait for a miracle to take place. Now, understand it's also at the time of Passover. So, much like we do today, they may have been en route to Passover, which would have been held in Jerusalem. And Jesus was there en route with them. We know that he was around the Sea of Galilee. So this might have been, and most likely was for a lot of them, a side trip that they decided to take because word of mouth was out. Jesus, you know that man that has turned the water into wine and also has raised up a lame man after 38 years? Do you know him? Listen, I hear he's about and out, and I think we're going to go see him. And so the tendency, just like today, crowds swell, even perhaps to mob capacity, even greater, but they're swelling and they're coming to Jesus. Now, you know, when Jesus looked out at that crowd, he could have said, "Oh my goodness, let's get out of here." But the first thing he says is, "Do we have anything to feed them with?" He has compassion on them. They're pilgrims. They're traveling, and they've come to see him. And he feels the sense of hunger. Not just spiritual hunger, but they're hungry in their bellies. And so he has compassion. And he wants to fill them, nourish them. So he asks Philip, and Philip says, "No way. You know, we don't even have enough money. And we're on a tight budget. There's no way that we would ever be able to feed these throngs of people that are gathering around us." But Andrew, and you have to commend Andrew, he does have an idea. He says, "Listen, there's this little boy over here, and his mom probably packed him lunch. You know, he's got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Don't know how you're going to make it work, Jesus, but just a suggestion. That's what I'm seeing here." And so Jesus says, just have everybody sit down. Just have them get comfortable. Like I said, there was a multitude of people there. And so I'm sure they organized a system to where they got the word out, Jesus is here, and Jesus would like for you to sit down, rest, get comfortable. Then Jesus asked for the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And after blessing those items, he has the disciples distribute them to the people. And it said all that partook, everybody that was there that wanted to eat, had their bellies full. And there were even 12 baskets left over of the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. You know, little is much when God is involved. The only thing that God asks you is to bring it to him. Give whatever is there. Bring it as an offering. Today, even if it's your work, even if it's your vision, what you think is little and would never be enough to offer to Jesus, let alone feed others, when you lay it in submission at his feet, the multiplication tables are off the charts. It shouldn't have happened. Naturally, it wouldn't have happened. But when Jesus is in the offering, when Jesus is in the offering, little is much. If God has called you to something and you think that you are not worthy and you have so little to offer, lay it at his feet. Allow Jesus to bless that which he has called you to. Come on in. Come on in. You're fine. You're fine. When all you have to offer Jesus is little energy to pursue the passion that he's given you, lay it at his feet. Have him bless it. Have him rejuvenate and multiply the energy to complete the task that he has called you to. Only be willing to be the willing vessel that once it's multiplied, serves others with it. And I've heard people saying, what I've given that I thought was little, once I started distributing it, and that would have been just like the disciples here, just like the disciples. When they first started pouring out, when they first started distributing the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, they had to be wondering, just how far is this going to go? And yet, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's okay to lay it at his feet, allow him to bless it, and immediately take it up again and start distributing his love, his grace, his mercy, his word to those who have come seeking Jesus. As I said, my thought for the day is little is much when Jesus is involved. I can tell you countless stories when I have been on mission trips, and I've been preparing for mission trips, where I didn't know where funds were going to come from. I did not know where provisions were going to come from. I didn't know where human resources were going to come from. But when you lay it at Jesus' feet, it's overwhelming what he provides. And he invites you in to be a part of that blessing to others. Thanks so much for speaking. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for being here with me today. And I will see you all again. And we're going to talk about Jesus walking on water. I love you guys. Please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.